listening to Proof Text, a Glossa House podcast by Dr. T. Michael W. Halcomb, Dr. Fredrick J. Long, Dr. Mario Melendez, Dr. Jennifer Noonan, and J. M. Smith. Welcome and enjoy.
Hello and welcome to Proof Text. I'm Michael Halcomb. I am here with Dr. Fred Long, and this is a GrammarPoint episode. We've been going on and on and on for almost like a year, maybe about half a year, I don't know, about verbs. And today we're going to shift gears and start to talk a little bit about nouns. And so, Fred, you doing all right?
I am, yeah. I am got a new semester about to start, so that's always very exciting for me. Tomorrow my classes, well, actually tonight I'll do a live learning lab with my exegesis students through the book of Galatians. So get to see some of them face to face. Yeah, you
Get them
doing well?
onto the podcast, man.
Definitely, yeah.
You give them bonus points or something for listening to the podcast.
Yeah, they would take me up on that because they usually are looking for bonus points in my class. Yeah,
True.
you doing
I
well?
remember those days.
Yeah, you remember those days?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good.
We're almost through chapter 5, and we've been at that for maybe 2 years. I don't
2
know how
years?
long.
Yeah.
One episode a week here and there, but we need to compile all those together and just put them in one place so people don't have to scroll back through all the podcast
Yeah,
episodes.
I was wondering about that for organization. I was thinking about that for my class. I don't know the best mechanism to do that. But all the grammar points, I don't know. Do we have a website? Maybe we could do it there.
It's on the website.
Okay.
But well, anyways, we're off topic. We're on GrammarPoint talking about we're gonna leave verbs and go into nouns. And so, for me growing up, the definition I always heard was a person, place, or thing. And then when I started to dive more into linguistics, that maybe kind of shifted a bit. So I don't know what your definition of noun is, Fred, but even with that simple definition, like person, place, thing, like it got added to it ideas, emotions, which I actually found very helpful because those are more abstract and people sometimes might not think they're nouns. But yeah, I think
fall under things, I think.
Yeah, I think linguists would maybe have different understandings of what nouns are, way more technical descriptions. But anyways, how would you initially
person, place, or thing, knowing that there can be abstract things. I think they represent concrete entities, like they refer to concrete entities, persons, place, locations, and ideas or things. So you have common nouns, and then you have like personal or proper nouns, right? That refer, usually are capitalized in English, although in German, all nouns are capitalized. So you have common nouns, but then you have also personal nouns that refer to names like Rick or Susie or Tom or Joe, whatever.
We'll
Michael.
talk more. We'll do actually some in-depth episodes on those, I think. Maybe, not in-depth, but just showing some more examples. Actually, why don't I do this while we're talking? Like, I'll just pull up the Greek text and we can look at that.
To look at nouns. Yeah, I don't know their frequency. They've got to be like up there in terms of frequency. Yeah, there it is. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
8 nouns in the first verse, and
this is Galatians 1:1.
There's a couple one pronoun, and then there's also an adjective that functions like a noun. So when something functions like a noun, it's called a substantive. I mean, a noun is a substantive, but you have substantive uses of adjectives or participles. Even adverbs can be turned into a noun by adding an article to them. So nouns are concrete kinds of things. They're kind of like reified things. So you can take a verb and you can even turn that into a noun through a process of formation, like a participle. So yeah, nouns are pretty cool. They're concrete. After the verb, they're probably the most important part of the sentence because they represent agents, objects, and they're objects of prepositions. So they're involved in a lot of constructions. And so, yeah, you want to make sure that you learn nouns well. They occur in three declensions. And these declensions are groupings. We're not going to talk about those now. I think we'll do one episode per declension, but the first, second, and third declension, we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then they have three attributes. So when you're parsing a noun, that is decoding the grammatical information, the marking. So in Greek, when you're looking at a noun, it typically will be marked in three ways: gender, number, and case. Now, and so we'll look at each of those. Number is pretty simple, singular or plural, although there are some mass nouns and count nouns that do some different things there. In other words, you have collective nouns, nouns that are singular, but they can refer to a group of people. So number is pretty easy, singular or plural. Greek used to have a dual ending, but I think that was on verbs, right? No, what am I talking about? Dual endings.
Yeah.
Either nouns. I think that was nouns.
Still has, well, Hebrew has that as well, right? We have the dual.
Yeah, so you do have some archaic kinds of things going on, but in New Testament Greek is a singular plural. And then you have gender, which in Greek are three: masculine, feminine, and neuter. And when we look at the declensions, the first two roughly correspond with gender, but you have some cross dressers. We'll talk about that. And then you have case. And are we going to do case right now? You want to talk about case or just state the overview?
We can. We'll say
Yeah,
a
let's do
case.
an overview of case. So case has to do with it's a way to mark the form that tells the listener, audience, hearer. It gives some grammatical information about how that noun is functioning in the sentence. At least it narrows it down. So you have nominative case, which is subject. You've got direct address, which is called a vocative case. You have genitive case, which is a case of general description. You've got dative case, which represents instrumentality, location, and then also benefit. So the direct object or indirect object is often indicated by the dative. And then you have the accusative case, which is in a case of extension and receiving of the action. So a direct object is often accusative case, although verbs take different objects, different cases for their objects, and that can be really confusing for beginning students. And it is confusing, actually. And so you always have to be looking at lexicons and the information's there under verbs, and it'll provide information about what case that verb may use as a direct object, and whether it is often found with indirect objects, these kinds of things. This kind of is called valency around the verb. So once a verb is activated or implied, it will have what are called arguments around it. The arguments are like subject, direct object, indirect object. And so these are called arguments, which is kind of an interesting term. But this whole understanding of when a verb is activated, what else is entailed with that verb is called valency theory. And some verbs they just require a subject. They don't have any objects at all. Some are even impersonal. They really just use like a dummy subject. It is necessary or lawful. Some will take four complements or valency. Someone does something for somebody, or changes something into something for somebody. So that's actually four valency arguments. a student of mine did a paper looking at the valency. I think it was of didomi. I give something to someone as something. So you have these 4 arguments: subject, indirect object, an object which is changed into something else. So you give something as something. So anyway, we'll talk more about that kind of thing when we look probably at the accusative case and start looking at some of these cases more specifically. So gender, number, case, and person, place, or thing. Yeah.
The Greek term for noun is very simple. Onema. Just same thing as name, right? A noun is a thing. Name, I suppose. And you're talking about valency there. When you're learning to speak Greek and compose Greek, that is like sentences, this is one of the hardest things, because your native language, especially if it's English, will creep in, and there are certain verbs, right, that take genitives, certain verbs that take accusatives, and so on and so forth. And English kind of interferes a lot. And we're not native speakers, so we haven't, it's hard to internalize when a verb takes a genitive or when it takes an accusative, whatever. It just takes a lot of work. And sometimes when it takes a genitive, it'll have a different kind of meaning, or when it takes an accusative, it'll have a different meaning. And
so a real quick example of that is akuo.
Yeah, exactly.
Akuo can take the accusative and the genitive, and actually with the genitive, which we might say hear of, akuo means I hear of somebody. That might make it seem like it's a distant report, but actually it's a direct hearing. Whereas if you hear with the accusative, that's a more remote hearing, kind of hear about somebody. So there's a slight difference between akuo with the accusative and with the genitive. And I remember I saw this in Ephesians 4 and I got real excited. Akuo with the accusative. And I thought, wow, is Paul talking about hearing Jesus? But it was, the more distant meaning with the accusative, akuo with the accusative, hear about Jesus. Yeah, so that's slight differences there. That's why lexicons are so important, the better lexicons. Yeah, so that's a little intro into nouns. And we hope you enjoy listening to our grammar points, and look forward to having you listen and watch next time.
Take care.
Interested in growing your ancient language skills but not sure where to start? Glossa House can help. From illustrated readers and short stories to lexicons and grammars, Glossa House offers a variety of resources for beginning, intermediate, and experienced ancient language learners. Head to glossahouse.com today. Glossa House, language resources for the global community.